Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Keys to Success podcast. You have your host, Talisa Stubbs, and this has been such an amazing week, but we'll get into that later. We have my beautiful co host, Deba Douglas. And can I just say that Deba has like one of the fastest growing mentorship programs in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So if you guys are looking for a mentor to teach you guys how to do these flips, she's got the lenders, she's got the contractors, and I mean, her work speaks for itself. So I just had to throw that little tidbit out there. And one last thing, you guys want to get in now because today's price is not yesterday's price, or yesterday's price is not, however they say it, right?
Right. That's real.
So, anyways, how you doing, Deba?
I am doing absolutely amazing. Oh my gosh, I have so much to share about my little day today, but I am super excited to be with you. Last week we missed you, and we're so happy to have you with us today.
I'm glad to be here. It's been like a whirlwind, y'all. My daughter turned 18 years old. And so it's been like all kinds of emotions going on. Like the other day, I was looking through the photo album and I would just start bursting out in tears. Like, where did the time go? This is crazy. So, anyway.
And y'all look like sisters. Y'all really do. I think I commented like that should be your sister.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we grew up together. So, I mean, oh my goodness. But, anyways, without further ado, I want to introduce our amazing guest, Chris. Chris, can you tell me how to pronounce your name? Is it Ciampa?
It's Ciampa.
Ciampa, doggone it.
It's
See,
a crazy
I was way
Italian
off.
name.
I'm sorry, Chris. Chris
Okay.
is not only a real estate investor, but Chris is also serving in law enforcement as a police lieutenant. And he's doing this full time in addition to doing real estate full time. So we are going to unpack all that there is to unpack, about Chris and about your story. So, and I got to just say one thing, Chris. Chris shares a mastermind with me. And I really felt a connection when we were at Amy's conference and you were talking about how your dad supported your vision and how imperative that was to your journey. And so I want to make sure that we touch on that because literally when they say that when somebody leaves you in tears after they're done speaking, that's how you know that they're a good public speaker. That's what I felt after you got done speaking, Chris. So
Awesome.
kudos to you.
Thank you.
And your dad. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But without further ado, Chris, tell the audience, who are you? What is your background? And just kind of fill us in on the amazing person that you are.
Absolutely. No, thank you both for having me. It's awesome sharing the screen with you both. Talisa, it's been a journey just meeting you and knowing you, and we share the same values and beliefs. And Deb, I'm sure you're right alongside her, probably just equally as amazing. I'm just a little guy. That's literally how I look at it. I'm little time. I'm small time. My journey is unique, but probably not that unique. I've been in law enforcement now going on 16 years, which was a complete change for me. So I was in corporate America before that, and just decided that it wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy sitting behind a desk. I didn't enjoy doing all that kind of stuff, and so it was almost like a calling. So 16 years ago, it called to me. And luckily, I've got a wonderful wife and kids that supported that, just said, go do it, which was amazing. And so that's kind of how I got into my law enforcement journey. I work for a great department up here in Northern California, and we have a great city that supports us. So it's a good partnership. But I found real estate probably just as long ago, if not, longer. And it just, that also had a calling for me, just kept coming back over and over. And so I had no formalized training whatsoever. I mean, I'm so lucky we didn't lose a lot of money, but it was just dumb luck, right? I mean, literally that's all it was. Is we had some money and we figured we'd try this investing thing, and we bought rentals, and without knowing what we were doing. I mean, we made every mistake in the book. We managed our own rentals. We did our own work. We were the landlord, the cleaning person. the toilet cleaner, the changer, the whole bit, which I don't know that I would ever do again, but it was a good experience at the time. And so, and when we bought flips, we did the work ourselves, so we'd had full-time jobs and we would go. I mean, it's just crazy to think now how we did it, but eventually you figure out that that's not the smartest way. So we got coaches. In fact, Amy Majori, who is now, I consider a very dear friend, and she's changed my life on several occasions now for the better. She was my very first coach when I joined a real estate program back in 2017, 2018 area. And I was lucky enough to have her assigned as a coach. And that changed my wife and I's vision of real estate to begin with, just because of her and the program. And then fast forward 3 or 4 years, and that coaching program, I'm still in that education program, but the coaching piece of it ended after the first year. And so we kind of lost touch. And then fast forward 2 or 3 years, and lo and behold, on Instagram, there she is. She pops up, and first thing I did, I showed my wife. I'm like, that's Amy. That's Amy. Like, I wonder what she's doing now, And I'm like, and so I started stalking her like a madman. And so literally stalking her, I'm like looking at her Instagram, and I'm like, I wonder what she's doing now. But I didn't have her actual phone number. I only had her coaching phone number, so I couldn't reach out to her. So I just DM'd her on Instagram. I'm like, hey, you probably don't even remember me. And she's like, oh my God, I totally remember you. And she asked about my wife, and she's just phenomenal. And she's like, I was like, what are you doing now? And are you still coaching? She's like, no, we've moved back out of San Diego. We're in Texas. I got this new thing going called RPM. You should come check it out. Just come to a few sessions for free that I'm doing for just a small group of people. And then lo and behold, the event last April, I think it was.
Yep.
In Long Beach, she's like, hey, I'm having a conference and you should come. And I was like, absolutely. So I was hook, line, and sinker again with Amy. I joined her program, one-on-one coaching with her. And yet again, the woman finds a way, when you think you're doing, good things, even though I'm little time and I'm a little guy, she just finds a way to hold you accountable. And she just changed our life again. Right. She's just good people. I don't know how else to put it. So, and that's why I get to meet amazing women like yourself. So that's how I know each other now.
And I can attest to that. Amy is, and for those of you who are looking for a coach, I'm gonna shout out the good ones. I have to shout out the good ones.
Hell yeah.
Amy Majori, Raising Private Money. Not only has she changed Chris's life, but she has changed my life in the most spectacular way. I mean, Chris and I have already been presented with some amazing opportunities, and it's just like, oh my goodness.
Right.
Like,
it's like, yeah. I'm not worthy.
Right.
I'm really not worthy. I'm an average guy. Like, that's literally, I have nothing special. To Lisa, I can't say it any better than you did. She's just phenomenal.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could go on about Amy for forever. So, Chris, I want to take a step back really quick, because you said that you started off in the corporate world. So one is, what did you do when you were in the corporate world? And then two, what motivated you? What was that pivot when you decided to go into law enforcement? Was it an event? Kind of elaborate on that, the beginning stages.
Good question. So literally I was working at Intel Corporation. So, and I loved Intel. And in fact, my wife still works at Intel. So they've been very good for our family. So I worked at Intel Corporation probably for 8 or 9 years. And I was doing contracts, negotiating contracts and acquisitions and the whole bit. And, you move up the chain. And as you move up that chain, there's different issues, right? Everybody's problem becomes your problem, because now you're a manager and you get to deal with all of that. So it was kind of right around the year, date myself, but right around the year 2000-ish. Not really an event, but I met some folks that were cops, and I started just striking up a conversation with them and asking them what they do. And I was like, that's kind of intriguing. And so it literally it never left my brain from there. And so I just always gravitated back to it. In fact, I literally tested on 3 different occasions over the course of probably 2.5 or 3 years. It just kept rearing. So I would test, and I'd get all the way to the point where they were ready to hire me. And then I would say either we're having another child, so it's not a good time. Obviously, the pay was drastically lower than what I was accustomed to. So that influenced my decision at one point. And then finally, I think it was the 3rd time, and I was grouchy. I just wasn't myself. And so it came to the last interview again. And I had every excuse in the book, the money, the kids, that's a big change. And my wife just said, let's just do it. Like, you just have to do it. If it's going to make you happy, you have to do it. And we did. We had an estate sale. We changed our lifestyle, obviously, because the money was changing. I was making in a week what I used to make in a day. But when you come home from work after being a cop and going to the academy, which is you work at Intel and then you go to the police academy, talk about culture shock. That was culture shock. They're yelling at you. You're, posting up and doing all this stuff. And I know what was going on, but I was having a blast. That's all I knew. All I knew is I was hook, line. I was sold. It was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But when your kids look at you and say, Dad, you're much happier. That's the difference, right? And for me, talk about a life-changing event. That's where you clearly learn, and I'm a testament to it, that money doesn't mean anything to you. Happiness, your family, your balance, that's what it's about. And so that's what law enforcement did for me, which is why I have a great passion for law enforcement. I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I've never had any trouble, but it changed my life as well. So, when your kids see the difference in you and you feel the difference and you're a better dad, you're a better husband, you're just a better person. That's why I've stuck with law enforcement, and it's been a thrilling career for me.
Wow.
That's beautiful. That speaks volumes of, you don't realize how it affects your kids when you're thinking, well, I'm working so hard so they can go on these beautiful trips and do these things, but they just want dad, and they want dad to be happy.
Yes.
And
Yes.
to be able to hear them after you decided to make that change, that is probably the most rewarding thing, that I can truly be present.
Absolutely. It's just when your kids see it, and your kid, like you said, your kids see everything, and they don't care what you do for a living. They don't care how much money you make. They just want you there, and they just want you present, and they just want you to be dad, because you can have the worst day in the world and come home and they're going to give you a big hug and kiss because they don't care, because they don't even realize it.
Yeah, that's so true.
So it's adulting at its best.
Yes. And so how does real estate come in all of this?
Good question. So I think that started early, because that was one of my first jobs. I was, again, just a little guy on a new crew in high school, learning how to be a construction summer job. And, I think working with my hands and being outdoors, and just something about the industry in general, I thoroughly love. But I knew I never wanted to buy it and sell it, if that makes sense. I never wanted to be kind of like the agent or the realtor type. I either wanted to be the builder, right, or around the construction part of it. And so I think that's where the investment as an adult started to come back to me. It's like, hey, because I drive by a construction site and I'm like a 7-year-old. So I love tractors and big trucks and dirt and swinging a hand. So that just always appeals to me. So I think that's what the draw was. Plus, you just hear all these stories of, that's where, at the end of the day, when you come back to these, what we perceive as successful, that's where they've made their money, right? And that's where they've made their success, so to speak, however you define success. But in terms of wealth, that's where you see most of those folks come back to the real estate world.
Wow. So, Chris, were you pretty vocal about your involvement in real estate with your fellow officers and lieutenants? No. Why, and why not?
Well, I was pretty close to the vest because, again, it's just whatever you define as success, right? Because we were just busy, and it was just something for me. I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit, that fire. I have an athletic background, so I love competition. Everything's a competition for me. I'll never let anybody outwork me. And so I just have that, I always want more. And so, you know, I wasn't really touting it because I didn't really think people cared, right? It wasn't really their business. It was just another way for me to try and create that path for my family. It's just something that I wanted for my family, because our original goal was we wanted a rental property for each of our kids as like a college fund or a future fund or a future home for them to help them get started. And that's what the original dream started as, like, let's do this so we can set our kids up and help them go to college or help them when they get out of college. So that's originally how real estate started.
Wow, gotcha. So Deborah, do you have a question? Because I do. I have.
Yes. So my question for you, when you first started, how were you guys purchasing? What was that process? What did we do?
Great question. Everything wrong, and not wrong, just everything different, right? It's different than I would do it now. We did the generic, go to a bank, qualify with our income, personally guarantee it, come up with $20,000 or $25,000 down. And then if it needed any repairs, we would fund the repairs out of our bank account. And that's just how we did it with our rentals. We did all of it and just hoped that the rental income covered it. And again, we had no training. So it was literally simple math. And you guys know, you're both savvy and intelligent women, that the simple math doesn't work in real estate. So when I mean simple math is, oh, it's $1,200 that I'm getting from rent. My mortgage payment's only $800. I'm making $400 a month. That's not how the math works. And so sometimes I think we were breaking even, but we're lucky in California that we have that appreciation piece. So I paid for it the traditional way, to put it simply.
And how many did you do the traditional way?
We did 4 the traditional way.
Wow.
So
okay.
We did over a span of probably 5 to 7 years. We did, I think, 2 or 3 flips the traditional way, with me doing all the work and my wife doing all the work and us dragging kids to the construction site and having them help or not help, just depending on how old they were, right? Sometimes when they're young, their help isn't really wanted help. It's right. It's there. It's kind of like a fancy daycare. Hold this hammer. But we were able to do a couple flips, and somehow, knock on wood, we made money. And then we were able to get 4 rentals. And then it went from there.
Wow. Okay. And share. Oh, sorry, Talisa. I know you have questions. I'm like.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Just one thing, because I know that you said that you guys were using your own money and everything, and so I want to know, now that you've kind of learned from those lessons, what is your primary source of financing for these deals?
Great question. You're going to love this, Talisa. It's other people's money.
Woo!
So I raise it from investors, right? And I truly help them earn double-digit returns now. I never thought that would be possible. I never thought, and this goes to Lisa. Lisa knows the story of my dad. I never thought people would actually give me money to do this. And they never gave me money to do it, because even if I asked, which I never did ask at the beginning, even if I asked, I was literally asking, and I wasn't providing a service or I wasn't providing value. I was literally like, hey, can I borrow $5? Right. And that's how it came across. And when you ask people for money, typically you're never going to get money. So I didn't even know this private money world. I kind of knew it existed because Amy was one of my first coaches. But even then, that wasn't what she was teaching me at the time. We were building a business. So I wasn't building a business around private money. So to answer your question, Talisa, I use other people's money now. I haven't gone to, we now have close to 20 something doors. I don't even know the number anymore exactly, probably close to 25 doors now. And the last 6, I haven't used a dime of my own money.
Wow, that is huge. That's awesome. Okay, yes. You got
to unpack that. But the best part is my investors are making a poop load amount of money too. So
right.
It's everyone hearing this would be like, well, that's just greedy. Well, it's not greedy, because they're making just as much money, if not more, than I am.
Right.
Literally, they're making more money than I am. So.
Okay. Give us an example. Give us an example of how you've structured it, what that return looks like, just like the deep dive of the deal.
Absolutely. So one of the last ones was a purchase in St. Louis. So it's just a single family home, and it's going to be a rental. And so I was able to actually, it's an off market lead that I got from a realtor that I made with my realtor outreach because that was one of my markets. And literally, she came to me and said, "Hey, this home is owned by a church, but there's people that are selling it." And she said, "And they're going into foreclosure." And she said, "So they've tried to sell the property. They've done some fixing up of it, just minor fixes here and there, but they're trying to sell it and it hasn't sold." And so I said, "Well, send it to me. I'll take a look at it." And I said, "I'd love to help them." And I responded back with, "But unfortunately, this is all I can pay for, just based on what the numbers show," right? Because now I'm educated, because I've had great coaches and great folks like yourself that I get to work with and see how you do business. And so now I know how to calculate that. I know that it's not simple math, meaning $1,200 in rent, my mortgage is $800. There's a whole lot of taxes, insurance, repairs, holding costs, all the good stuff that's involved. And so I said, I can only pay this. And so they accepted the offer. And so I had this is the story with my dad, Talisa, that we could talk about shortly. But so I went to one of my old investors and I said, "Hey, here's this deal. I know that I'm not doing flips anymore, but this is kind of what I'm looking to do." And he goes, "Well, how much do you need?" I said, "Well, I only need probably like 20, 25 grand. That's what the down payment is. And it's a rental. So I can either just give you 10 or 12% interest for a year and then finance you out, or, we can kind of JV on this deal and we can kind of figure out how it goes from there." And he goes, "Well, how much is the house?" I said, "Well, all in, probably about $90,000, $90,000. And he goes, "Well, why don't I just do the whole thing?" He goes, "Why don't I just be the bank?" And I'm like, "That's a good idea." And so he's the bank. And so, and he's a partner now. So we structured it to where he's making double-digit returns. So he's getting interest payments, as well as he's now got a portion of ownership of that house. And so, we split it as a JV. So he comes in with the money. I found the deal. I managed the deal. We have a property managed, the whole bit. But his benefit is he's probably earning, including the equity. So he gets the equity, he gets the depreciation, he gets the appreciation, and then he gets his interest from the $90,000 loan. So he's probably in the upwards of 15 to 16% return on
Wow.
an annual basis. And so, at some point I'll probably refi him out and then I'll own the whole thing and he'll make his money and be happy, and we'll go rinse, wash, and repeat.
Wow, that is beautiful. And how much are you making?
A half. So I make half of a little more than half of everything. So
Wow.
yeah, so that one cash flows probably for me $200 to $300 a month, and for the investor it's probably somewhere in the $500 to $600 a month. Plus he gets
Wow.
the depreciation, the appreciation, and the tax benefit of owning the house. So
That's beautiful. But
Wow.
you were because you had specialized knowledge, you knew how to create the deal, set it up where everyone makes money, and you didn't have to bring any of your money, but you brought that specialized knowledge. You were able to walk away and make 200 easy peasy. No, you're not getting the phone calls from the tenants. You're not dealing with any of that. You just specialized knowledge. That's why it's so important to invest in yourself.
and that alone is the key. Is you just said it. You invest in yourself, and you invest with people that have more knowledge than you and can pass that on, but more importantly, that match your values and match your beliefs. Right.
Absolutely.
So, and that's Amy for me, because she knows where I want to get, because as a cop, we rely on our pension.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't want to have to rely on my pension alone when I retire.
Yes.
So I want to have that option to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it.
Yeah.
So
Oh
that's my
man,
mode
that's
to, my
beautiful.
mode to freedom.
So, Chris, I know this just because I've heard you talk about it, but I know that some of the officers now are becoming private money lenders. So
Yes.
it went from you not really talking about this much at work to all of a sudden now these people are investing in your deals, or you're collecting a finder's fee for finding them another deal to invest in. And so talk about that.
Yes. So what a mind shift change, right? So just 8 months ago, 9 months ago, I would have, again, just go about my merry way. And those people that know me maybe ask questions, or, some of the cops here are already investors, but just literally talking about it now, and that shift of, no, I'm going to tell everybody about this, because this is a good thing, right? I can help people make money. And it's not a secret. I'm not scamming anybody. I'm not selling anything. It's not a product. You either want it or you don't. And if you don't, that's great. It doesn't have to be for you. So I just started telling cops exactly what I'm doing, right? And then I meet investors like yourselves that have deals that need private money, and I've got cops that have money, right? And so I just started talking with cops. If you don't have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this.
Yeah.
You can get into this game for sometimes 15,000, but mostly like 20,000, 30,000, 50,000. And so I just started talking to them about it, and just that awareness alone, people would be like, wait, what are you doing? Wait, how do I do that? And so now, since I have a relationship with, a few core investors, guys and gals that I partner with, routinely, and I know that they're ethical. I know that they do business the right way, and their values match mine, and that they're not going to leave anybody high and dry. So every investment is protected, secured, and insured. I can tell these cops, like, hey, like I got Deb and Talisa here that have this house, and they need $40,000 to close on it. And here are the terms. You're going to get 12% interest for 12 months. You're going to get a lien position. You're going to get a promissory note. You're going to be added as an additional insurer. So if Mother Nature takes over, you still get a payout. And so all of a sudden their ears perk up, and they go, hey, I have some money sitting in the bank, just collecting dust, or not making any money, 1%, maybe 2%. And so I connect A to B, and I get a finder's fee, but you, the investors that have the deal, you get your deal complete. And then the person, the private money lender, the cop over here that has money, they make 12%. And, so I'm just the finder, so I don't make as much, but mine doesn't come out of the cop's fee. It comes out of the investor's fee. And you and Talisa are still making your cash. The cop is making his cash, and then I get a little finder's fee to walk away and go do it again.
Everyone wins. Everyone
wins,
feels
and
like
there's
they're
enough money to
empowering.
go around. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I've been very fortunate, and that's all Amy. That's all the RPM community, people like Talisa that I learned from. So, it's been phenomenal in the last 8 months, just talking about it and getting other people interested.
Wow. That is so beautiful to hear. Like, just listening to you, I think I saw, I don't know, a quote or something that says that people at the bottom are in competition. As you get higher to the top, it's more of collaboration. We can all win, and we can all be successful. And it make you enjoy winning when you were winning with other people.
Yes. It's phenomenal. So now one of my whys, and I only have 3 whys, but one of my whys is just to educate cops, whether they want to invest in real estate or whatever they want to, but they can do this, and they can make double-digit returns on their money, and they don't have to always do all the work, right? They can leverage their money and let the money work for them, right?
Absolutely.
So that way, these cops can't work till they're 50 or 57. Like, their bodies break down, their minds break down. So anything I can do to help the younger cops, because now I'm the older cop, if I can help the younger cops, kind of get to where I am, or even beyond me, to where they can choose their retirement date, then that's a win.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
So Chris, really quick, because I'm sure at some point there may be a cop that may watch this video, and if someone's wanting to know what money they can use, I know, like, when I was working at the school district, I was getting a 403b, and you and I both know that you can't invest with a 403b. And so, what can they use to invest? What can't they use? Can you elaborate?
Absolutely, great question. So it depends on what city they work for. So, like you just mentioned, my city, we've got a 457B plan, which is very much like a 401k. except you can't borrow against it. So but a lot of cities do have a 401k plan, and you are allowed to borrow from that. You can borrow 50% or 50K, whichever is less. And there's also cash insurance policies they can borrow from. They can go right from their bank. I mean, there's a whole, but unfortunately, they can't touch their pensions. So they can't do any of that type of thing. But there's a whole bunch of different self-directed 401ks or an IRA that a lot of cities offer where they can invest their own money. So there's a lot of different ways other than just having cash. It's a good point, Teresa.
Wow.
Nice. Thank you for answering that. Deborah, did you have a question?
No, I'm just blown away. I mean, I
Okay.
feel like I'm like, yes, I'm also an investor myself, but I have not tapped into this. And Lisa's been like, I've just been like listening to everything that she's been able to do. And I know there's like a whole nother world of being able to help people that, hey, they don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't have time to go to the site, but they do want to be a part of this real estate game and understanding it. And this is a great way. You still stay at your regular job. You can still do that. And then, hey, this is just making some extra money for you to truly have the lifestyle that you want. And you tap into real estate.
Absolutely. Because my other why is my parents, right? And my dad specifically, and my mom. But my why now is to make sure that I earn them, at least $100,000 in interest alone every single year, just by doing private money lending, right? So they don't have to touch their retirement. They don't have to touch their Social Security. And it's kind of what I tell a lot of my private money lenders that are just getting started is even though you're starting with a small amount, it compounds and builds quickly. And, for someone because you figure if you do it the traditional way, like I did at the beginning, you're coming up with $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 in California, even more than that. And so you figure if someone comes up with that same amount and they can make $10,000 or $12,000 or $15,000 a year on interest only without doing any work, like you mentioned, that's way easier than being a landlord.
Yes.
Right. And I don't have to go find a deal. I just have to find the right people to work with. And that's the key piece is you got to trust them. There has to be a rapport, which is why I'm picky who I do business with.
Yeah.
Because my name's on the line with these cops. I have to tell them like, hey, I trust Talisa, right? So again, that's why the importance of the community that you're in, because I trust Talisa simply because I walk in the same shoes and the same mastermind as her.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's beautiful.
Chris, thank you for saying that. And I wanted to shed some light on the fact that so you're working full time, you're a real estate investor full time. Does it ever clash?
Yes, obviously it has to, right? I mean, it definitely does. I used to joke, and I still joke that I go from one full-time job to another full-time job. But I'm fortunate in that I love them both, right? I truly do love them both. And so that's where it's hard to kind of pick and choose, but they do clash. And, my primary job being in law enforcement, that always wins out, right? Because that's my primary job. That's what I do for a living. And I don't ever want to, because the other stuff I can curtail it around my real job, which is nice. So they do clash because I'm me, right? I'm just people don't know. They call me on the phone anytime, and sometimes I can answer and sometimes I can't. That's the difference with being a cop and an investor is that sometimes I just go dark for a couple of days. Mm-hmm. One, because I'm either working overnight and catching up on sleep, or I literally am in a police car and I cannot answer the phone. Like I just can't pick it up and say, hey, let me call you back, or text you, I'm in a meeting. When you're on a call for service in the public or you're driving around in a police car, there is no, I'll text you back later. It's just when I'm done, I'll call you. So it clashes for sure. It clashes.
Yeah.
But in a good way. Now it's in a good way.
Yeah.
I'm not shy about it. But my primary job is a police lieutenant, and that always wins out.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh man, this has been such a great episode. Okay, Deb, if you don't have any more questions, I just have one final question. And then go ahead.
I do have one question. So, okay. Chris, tell us What are you reading right now?
Oh, good
What
one.
am I reading right now?
Yes.
You're gonna laugh, but I'll see Talisa next week. But I'm actually reading up on alternative means of investing. Right. So I'm literally reading Matt Sorensen's book, Directed IRA. She's going to show it to you right here, maybe. But it's a book just basically about how you invest with your 401k self-directed or an IRA, just so I can be more knowledgeable in my field about what that is. And so I got my next book coming up. I can't remember what the name of it is right now, but I read a lot of leadership books.
I love it.
That's kind of my go-to thing. I like the motivational leadership type books. I'm trying to remember what it's got. An easy. I just ordered it from Amazon. I can't remember it right now. I can't remember. It says Speak Easy or something. Can't remember, but if I remember it, I'll let you know. But I forgot.
I love that. And viewers, if anything you took from anything we talked about and listening to Chris from the first conversation, from the first thing he said to the end, it's about investing in himself. He knows enough that he's already doing business, but now he wants to make sure that he continues to support the people that he's supporting by him learning more knowledge for him to gain what he needs to know. When you invest in yourself, no one can take that from you. It doesn't matter if it's a degree or you going through a course, like that is something that you are putting, you're planting seeds in you that will ultimately grow into something bigger and better that you can pass down to your kids, pass down to people around you. So I just commend you for constantly encouraging and investing in yourself.
I appreciate that, and coming from a coach like yourself, it's humbling because it's true, right? And I am Uncle Cheapskate, so when you have to write that check, or when someone comes and says, "Hey, this is how much it costs," right? You get ooh, right? But every time I have invested in myself, and it costs money to do that, right? It's not cheap, but it's come back in droves, right? And it's doubled itself, and sometimes not always financially, right? Sometimes it's that confidence. Sometimes it's just the confidence and the attitude shift and the mindset change that says you can do this. And it may not manifest itself in dollars and cents right away, but man, you can't replace a mind shift change, because then you become unstoppable.
Man, that's powerful. That is powerful.
I'm sorry, that led perfectly into my final question, Chris. So thank you for setting that up, brother.
Anything for you.
So you talked about mindset shift, and I'm going to touch on something that is a little bit touchy, but because you are a cop, I want to go into this. Do you feel that if there were more programs in our prison systems where real estate investing was being taught inside the cells, do you think that would, first of all, reduce the number of repeat offenders? And would it change the mind shift so that you guys could have more productive individuals leaving? So that's my last question.
That's a great question. I would hope that it would, and I'm biased, right? Because real estate's been very, very good for me. So I would hope that it would. I would love if somebody could fund that model, right? Because I know funding would always be a problem for that model. But the biggest thing would be is it's got to be an individual choice, right? Whether it's a real estate program or whether it's an art program, or I just recently saw that we had some college graduates that were incarcerated, and they were some of the first college graduates to get a degree. So I don't recall the actual program that was, but any program we can offer anybody, not even just those that are incarcerated, anybody, right? I personally think it ought to start finding its way to schools as well.
Yep.
Because we're not taught these things, and they're not normal ways of thinking, the way the three of us think and the way your audience that's listening to this thinks. We think different, and it's a mindset thing. So the answer to your question is yes, I think it would work, but it's only going to work for those individuals that choose to make it work for them, right? And that they have to invest in it. And that just goes for any program today, right? If they invest in it, it's going to work. If they don't and just give it half effort, it'll never work.
It'll never work. Yeah.
Any program we can offer anybody to learn and get better, I would sign up for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing. And I totally agree because Deborah and I experienced that as well. I mean, you have those who enroll in a mentorship and are just there to be there. And so,
that's by education, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, this has been such a phenomenal episode.
That's been awesome.
So inspiring. I'm pretty sure so many people have been able to take nuggets from this episode. So thank you for coming on the show, for telling us your story, and for serving the community in the way that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's been an honor having you on our podcast.
It's been fun. Thank you for telling my story. I'm just a normal guy, just doing normal things. That's it.
All right, Chris, if you could tell the audience one last thing, what would you tell them?
Change your mindset. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you do it, but it takes action. Take one step first and then take the second step, right? And believe in yourself. Yeah. And sometimes you need somebody else like you two ladies to give that support. But if I can do it, anybody can do it. That's for sure.
Amen. Awesome.
Love
well,
that.
You guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. You guys, make sure that you are going to subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Apple channel, and let us know what other content you guys want to hear. So make sure that you like, comment, and thank you guys again for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Bye.